with South Sudan. And the government of South Sudan presidential spokesperson Atani says they expect a significant improvement in peace negotiations with the rebels. The new optimism follows the release of political detainees accused of plotting to overthrow President Salva Kiir's government. The release of the detainees has been one of the major demands by representatives of the rebels allied to former Vice President Riek Machar at the peace negotiations. The next round of Intergovernmental Authority on Development sponsored peace talks in neighboring Ethiopia are planned to begin Monday in the capital, Addis Ababa. I'm joined by human rights activist in South Sudan, Victor Godfrey Bula. Thank you very much for joining us here, Victor.
Yes, thank you very much also for being concerned about South Sudan.
Absolutely. Now, so peace talks have resumed amidst fears that there could have been a breakdown after the release of those prisoners. What does this mean for South Sudan?
The news when these political detainees were released, of course, people were very happy to see that they are released, and the family were joining the court. But when they came out of the court, a press release, they condemned, they call it Pagana movement, a press release on behalf of the four detainees saying that the war is a senseless war. And by putting up this means that it is not with the rebels. So this perspective put people questioning a lot of questions that, of course, the rebels were demanding their release in order to join them. But now they have come out again, they are also saying that this is a senseless war. That means they are not with them online. This is what is happening. But all the people and the president made a statement that these people were released in order to participate for healing process and reconciliation. But the same day when they were released, some of the two detainees decided to board the flight reaching to Kenya, and they were stopped on the airport and their passports were taken on the basis that they were released not to go out of the country but to help in the process of healing and reconciliation that is going on in the country. But their release has been something which is acceptable and welcome by everybody in the country, and shows that the government side there is a sign that the rebels may not have another demand to prove against the government demanding more demands, because people are already tired, people want peace. People are really, the patience is already out,
So Victor, now that talks have resumed again, what does it mean for the process of putting South Sudan back on its feet?
I beg your pardon?
Now that peace talks have resumed, we understand peace talks resumed today. What does it mean for putting South Sudan back on its feet?
You see, with the new peace, with the resumption of the peace talks, it's not something new to the people in South Sudan, because people are now talking that they are going the same way they will come back without peace. But what is very interesting now is the release of the people, and the release of these political detainees is something that gives hope. Perhaps their release will make a positive change to the negotiation currently going on. When we talk about these peace talks, you cannot talk peace talks when the barrels of the gun is not silent. There's war going on in my own, in its state, nonetheless. So how do people really trust that peace will come when the guns are not silent? So people say that this peace may not come, they may end up, giving excuses in order to withdraw, take place, or this kind of situation. But what people need is that the news of permanent peace and permanent trust. And this news will pave the way for reconciliation, because you cannot reconcile now when tomorrow you are hearing, people are being killed, massacred. This one gives hard time for reconciliation. But for ordinary person in South Sudan, there's nothing new.
And so, Victor, what should be the posturing of international bodies such as the UN, the AU, IGAD on the gross human rights abuse ongoing in South Sudan?
You see, what actually I will say from my own view is that the international community needs to look into, when we talk about justice at the moment, we should not talk about the criminal justice, forgetting the other sides of the justice. The people that, the citizens who have suffered, the property that have been damaged, these are properties that they made over 10 years. The international community needs to put an end to this war by putting pressure on both sides and those who are obstructing peace to even sanction them. And after that, they should form a commission to bring those people accountable. Their assets should be free. Their assets should be confiscated, sold, and compensate with the victims. Because if we talk now of these people to be taken to court, to be taken to ICC, taking them to ICC is not the solution to an ordinary person who has lost everything. So there should be a compensation, very serious compensation, by confiscating the property of those responsible for those atrocities and compensated the civil population who have lost their property.
Is South Sudan far from recovery?
Come again?
Is South Sudan far from recovery?
Absolutely. Where we are very far from what we expect. Now we are counting from December up to this month. We are counting months. Nothing new. What has just getting worse? People have lost hope.
Thank you.
People have lost.
Pleasure talking to you, Victor. Victor Godfrey Bula is a human rights activist. We spoke to him from South Sudan.